Should Nigel Farage accept Elon Musk's millions? 0207 862 2222. This is such a big story, isn't it? The Reform UK leader has met the tech billionaire at Donald Trump's Florida club, which is called Mar-a-Lago, sort of the alternative White House, alongside Reform donor Nick Candy. Nick's a very rich man as well. It's understood the topic of money came up. I think it did, with reports that Musk could donate tens of millions to Reform. He obviously really likes Farage and he likes Reform. And let's have a listen to what Nigel Farage had to say about the meeting.
This is what Musk said to me. He said, British politics now has a uni-party. There is very little to choose between the Labour and Conservative parties. And he genuinely fears that the mother country of the English-speaking world is frankly going down the tubes. And he agrees Britain needs reform. He is right behind me. Whether Musk is South African by birth and now American by citizenship, if he has companies in the UK trading legitimately, employing people, paying taxes, he's fully entitled to give.
So of course, Mr. Farage is your Reform Party colleague.
Leader.
Tell us what you make of this news.
Well, I would be delighted if we got some of Elon Musk's money. And I think that as far as political donations go, as long as they're lawful, as long as they're transparent, and in this case, Nigel rightly points out that there are companies over here, I don't have a problem with it. And we should remember that Labour sent people over to campaign for Kamala Harris.
Sure, it's just that Musk money is it's a big old thing to insert into our little political process, isn't it, Bobby?
Yeah, so it may be lawful, but I have a huge issue with someone like Musk meddling in our UK politics. Again, this is someone that clearly has his own political views and agenda. He's on social media, on Twitter, or X since he's bought it. He said civil war is inevitable around the time of the Stockport attacks. So he's stoking political fires here. And he's called our Prime Minister someone who's running a tyrannical police state. So I don't like the fact that someone like him is influencing. Political parties need funding. I'm happy with that. But Elon Musk, I'm just really not
You're happy with all the things that Lammy said about Trump, and now Trump's the president. I mean, the fact is people say things, people believe things, but that is entirely separate.
But why should someone from another country influence our politics?
Well, why did Labour send people over to campaign for Kamala Harris? I mean, the fact
Isn't that called whataboutery, where he says something and you just say something, oh, but what about this?
Yeah. Because...
But it's not the way to argue.
No, the argument is that it is not an unusual practice. That was my argument.
To have the richest man in the world deciding, UK will be his little plaything, I think that seems unacceptable.
He does not regard the UK as a little plaything. What he does think is, and don't forget, there was a big transatlantic alliance, and this is our major partner in world security and all the rest of it. And the idea that none of them can have a view.
Yeah, and I'm interrupting because this photo's, I'm obsessed with it. That is Trump in the background, right?
That was Bobby Moore for a second.
Wearing cricketing whites, but Musk is wearing some sort of neck cushion that is exactly the same colour as the sweater. So it looks like this cricketer has got his arm round Musk's shoulder.
Yes,
Carry on, I'm so sorry.
Yes, no, I don't mind your obsessions at all.
I know, I was looking at that photo last night. I couldn't make head or tail of it. It looks so weird. It looks like a lion's paw.
Yeah,
but there we are. The lion's paw is a good analogy. One
needs to stop and think. No, all I'm saying is that as long as something's lawful and transparent, transparency is crucial in all of this. I don't have a problem.
I was going to say,
if it's, may I just finish? If it's an international ally, if it was China, I'd have a massive problem.
Oh, okay. So, right, well, that's taken a turn. I was going to add a point in your favour, which is that I support a football club called Chelsea, and we were taken over by some pretty clueless characters after the whole COVID thing. Yeah. And their thought was you just pour money into it and the team will win everything. And the more money they put in, the worse we played. And no one could understand it. And it turned out that I saw an article saying they got so many players at Chelsea now, they can't even fit them in the dressing room anymore. So in team talks, they were having to sit down the corridor. And it doesn't necessarily follow that just because you inject 100 million into a party, it wins an election. I
mean, that is quite true, but it's also true that it's very, very hard in this day and age to win elections without money. OK, well, let's see. Denise in Berkshire, how do you think if Reform, maybe Reform could offer him advertising, Farage could call himself Musk or something? What do you think, Denise?
No, I don't think it should be allowed, because it's going to put, if Reform get in, it's going to put them under obligation. I mean, Musk is a very, very, very successful businessman. He's thrown his lot in with Trump, but, you know, he's an American citizen. But I don't think that he should be allowed. I mean, money talks, and, you know, nobody puts money into anything without expecting something back.
Yeah.
Musk will be expecting something back, and Farage will have to deliver.
Yeah, you know, it's the weird thing about Trump. Trump is about the most anti-electric cars person on the planet. He's been railing against electric cars. So quite how they got over that hiccup, and I think probably Nigel Farage is a bit the same. He said, "Well, I don't know, electric cars. I don't think the point of them." So that they've looked past that particular difficulty, which is that Elon Musk is the number one electric car guy in the world.
And Reform hate electric cars.
Yes, I was going to say that. Well, that's what I said. Farage hates them. OK, is he carrying a milkshake? Thank you, Denise. Neville in Newcastle. Hello.
Hello, Jeremy. I'm listening to your show with intrigue, and I have to say, I normally would never vote for somebody like a Tory or even Labour, because when you look at it, the unions run the Labour Party. That's a fact. The donations go to the Tories, no matter where from, but all of a sudden, you want to change the rules just to suit the main two parties. I think that's rather hypocritical.
Well done.
Well, it's the idea that this if it's 100 million, it's kind of overload. It's that idea.
But it isn't.
The Tories got 5
confirmed,
million
yeah.
for this character, Frank Hester.
Let me just say something to you. So then we'll take example your green policies. You have forced me to go and buy a new vehicle, which I did not need to buy, or it would have cost me £4,000 a year to go to work.
Right.
So therefore, you are targeting the people who do not have excess amount of cash to just go and do what everybody else wants to do. So therefore, because you've got somebody else from a different party who has a different view, most of the country seem to not like it. But now that I can see that the Labour Party seem to give away all our money to whoever and forget about the people who actually live in this country, therefore, my point is, if Elon Musk comes in and decides, hang on a minute, let's rock the boat a bit. So what? It's
Well,
like
no,
Anne
maybe
pointed
so
out.
what? Maybe it doesn't matter. Neville, thank you. Andrew, what about that? So in Gloucestershire, so what? It doesn't matter.
It does matter. Of course it matters. By the way, the jacket that Musk is wearing is a flying jacket.
Oh, it's one of those Biggles ones, yeah.
Well done.
I've got it so I thought he was wearing a neck support. It's really weird. The colour is exactly the same.
Same as the jumper, yeah.
And Trump in a cricket
Flying jacket.
white.
And Anne Widdecombe once again is spot on.
Thank
The
you.
lawful donation, there is no problem.
Is it
And in
the
my
time in
mind,
the show
he
where
wants to
someone
make
calls for
100
Anne to be
million,
Prime Minister?
whatever.
That's, yeah.
But can I ask Andrew, Bobby here, I want to ask you a question. Devil's advocate, what do you think Musk is expecting in return for his cash? Is it just like, oh, I've got to spare 100 million, or do you think he'll be making demands on the Reform Party and Nigel Farage?
Ask Nigel.
So
Hang on.
sorry,
It's a
Nigel, beg your
question.
pardon. What do you think Musk would expect in return for the cash that he gives to the Reform Party?
It's a good question. I don't know offhand. Let me give it some
really
thought and I'll
obvious.
let you know.
Anne is hissing something. What are you saying to me?
I'm saying to you, there's never been any confirmation of 100 million. That is a figure being floated by your profession. It is not. It does not actually be confirmed.
That's the
that
sort of money that
going to
would
be
drop
anything
through a hole
like
in his pocket.
that. It's not going to. It may not be anything like that. So
He made seven.
And what does he expect in return? What does anybody who donates to a political party expect in return?
Well,
you want to get a government of your choice. That's all.
No.
That's all.
No, look at that guy, Wahid Ali, who was wandering around number 10 with a pass. Nigel in Shropshire, hello.
Good morning, Jeremy.
Well, sort this one out, Nigel. Should we say, as a nation, I'm sorry, you can't give that amount of money to anyone, let alone reform?
That's exactly. You're falling right into the. And well done, Neville. You've pinned this man down.
He's called Nigel.
No, I'm talking about Neville, the previous one. He's pinned you down.
Neville sounded
it's just
really
because it's reform.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point that Anne makes, Nigel. People don't like it because it's Nigel, your namesake, Nigel Farage. That's the only reason.
Yeah, if you can get a word in between you and Anne, I'll be okay.
Well, I can't even get a word in between me and Anne. Go on, Nigel.
Well, I just think there's no problem with the donation. The size of it's the critical idea. I mean, this 100 million is just ridiculous, isn't it?
Anne is, every time you say 100 million, Anne goes mad at me because I put that figure in. So it may not be. It may be 500 million. It may be a squillion.
Could be 10 million.
Bobby's a maths teacher.
To the end of the day, there should be limits on, isn't it? 5 or 10 million, something like that. It's not too bad, but 100 million is ridiculous, isn't it?
All right.
But Jeremy, I would like to ask Anne a question, if I could.
Yes, please.
Just quickly, if you could, yeah.
Well, with this Labour government now going to take us back into the EU, what are Reform going to do, even if they get in? Because we're going to be tied up back in the EU with all the rules and regulations. So we're back to square one again, aren't we?
No,
even if
we're
get back in.
No, we're not.
What were you going to do, Anne?
No,
Hang on, let her answer.
Yeah, it's very clear. Starmer's made it clear. We're not going back into the single market. We're not going back into the customs union. He's trying to do deals which will involve our accepting various rulings, and they can always be reversed. So it's OK as long as we stay tough. We're not going to lose what passes for Brexit.
Let's see. Nigel, thank you. What brilliant section that was. So fascinating.